Happy Tuesday, July 23rd. I'm Aaron Brightman. Welcome back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. As always, brought to you by Knights of the Raritan, the Rutgers NIL Collective. Click on the link to their newsletter in the description of this episode. It's free. Find out all that's going on within their organization and also how to become a member of Knights of the Raritan to help support Rutgers student athletes with NIL. Today, Tuesday 23rd, it is Big Ten Media Days. I did a full preview on Monday in terms of the schedule and also what to watch for, as well as some analysis and reaction to Rutgers being picked 9th in the preseason poll for the conference. We'll have plenty of coverage following Big Ten Media Days, with Rutgers set to appear all over BTN on Tuesday. Wanted to focus on this episode on Rutgers men's basketball. It's July. Summer workouts are in full swing. The college basketball media world is doing their prep work for the season. And there was a tweet that kind of set off a little bit of a controversy last week, but is a good talking point just in terms of looking at where Rutgers falls in terms of best backcourts in the Big Ten entering the 24-25 season. BTN analyst and former Purdue great Raphael Davis tweeted that he thought that Dylan Harper and Jeremiah Williams were the best backcourt duo in the Big Ten, and mentioned that if they have a 40% three-point shooter with them, curtains. So basically saying if they have perimeter threats to complement them, it's going to be near impossible for defenses to defend them. And there's a lot of truth to that. But what's very significant in his statement is that as a Purdue guy, they have Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer returning for their third year together in the backcourt, following back-to-back Big Ten titles and an appearance in the national title game. Braden Smith could arguably end up being the best guard in the Big Ten this year. Fletcher Lawyer has struggled at times. He's still a very good guard. But, he had 0 points in the national title game. That's kind of on his little bit of weight on his shoulders in this offseason. Even so, it's still significant that a notable BTN analyst, Purdue ties or not, that he has propped Rutgers up kind of out of the blue ahead of this season. Now, I got a lot of Purdue fans upset. Braden Smith quote tweeted it with the open face mouth emoji, kind of like shocked and surprised, and he tagged Fletcher Lawyer. So, there's some fun there. Boiler Diehard's an account that I follow and have conversed with before, and he wrote back to me when I tweeted about it, saying how, it's just to motivate his guys, regardless of what the situation is. There is a legitimate argument that Rutgers does have the best backcourt. Now, are they the best? Are they the most talented? I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of run through some of the on paper best backcourts in the Big Ten, where Rutgers kind of shakes out, and the potential of Dylan Harper and Jeremiah Williams, and why it's so crucial their development this season as a tandem ultimately will result in whatever success or lack of success this team has coming into 24-25. So let's break down the Big Ten first. Just in terms of some notable guards, some candidates for being part of the best backcourts in the conference. You have Miles Rice, the Washington State transfer, now at Indiana. He averaged 15 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. Was a freshman All-American for the Cougars last season. He's a notable addition. They do have Trey Galloway back. He's been pretty inconsistent in his career, but Rice could end up being one of the best guards. We'll see about their backcourt as a whole. You have Ohio State with Bruce Thornton is back. Michi Johnson transferred from South Carolina. He led the resurgence last year. He averaged 14, 4, and 3 last year. Bruce Thornton averaged 16 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. You have Ace Baldwin back with Penn State. Doesn't have a lot of help there, but he is one of, his defensive player of the year last year, also averaged 14 and 6. You have Illinois with a brand new backcourt. They have the transfer from Arizona, Boswell. He averaged 10, 4, 2, and 2 last year. They have Kasparis Jakunis, the Lithuanian. He's turning heads right now in the international scene, and he brings a lot of promise. He's kind of a modern guard, bigger guard. They could be really exciting in that backcourt for Illinois. You have Jacoby Gillespie, the Belmont transfer at Maryland now. He's a prolific guard, averaged over 17 points a game last year with 4 assists, 4 rebounds. UCLA brings back a pair of all Pac-12 freshmen in Dylan Andrews, Sebastian Mack. Both averaged double figures last season and should have even better seasons for the Bruins, although there is that transition to Big Ten. Oregon has Villanova transfer TJ Bamba, who didn't, he was okay for Villanova, but he's still very talented. And then they also have Jackson Shelstad, who averaged 13, 3, and 3 last year for the Ducks. And then also Michigan State, they have Jeremy Fears back, who, didn't have a great season as a freshman, but has a lot of promise, a highly regarded recruit. And then Jaden Atkins, who did have a lot of moments last year. He is back as well. And then, of course, Purdue with Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer. Aside from them, honestly, on paper, Rutgers has every opportunity to be better as a tandem with Dylan Harper and Jeremiah Williams. And I should say, this isn't just the opinion of Raphael Davis. Sleepers, who did their own podcast in reaction to Raphael Davis, tweeting that Rutgers had the best backcourt. Greg Waddell, he did with Carter Elliott, his partner, they did best backcourts in the Big Ten about a month ago, and he ranked Rutgers number 2. And then when they had the reaction podcast the other day, they had Brian Ruff on, a longtime college basketball analyst, someone I've always followed, and he is as high on Dylan Harper as anyone. He said he's the top 3 guard nationally. And, what they talked about was that if you take the 4 guards on paper, Dylan Harper, Jeremiah Williams, Braden Smith, Fletcher Loyer is certainly the 4th guard in that list. And in terms of pure talent, you have to look at the fact that, Dylan Harper is a projected NBA lottery pick. And he's, probably on most draft boards, top 5 right now. And we'll get into what makes him great. I think overall, just the versatility of J. Will and Dylan together gives them an opportunity to be the best backcourt in the Big Ten. Now, a lot has to happen. And I know Rutgers fans, stop talking about it. You're jinxing it, blah, blah, blah. Listen, it's July. Let's have fun with content. And the prospect of this is a real possibility that Rutgers could have the best backcourt in the Big Ten and one of the best backcourts in the country, like top 3. Like, it's real. And let's not forget, aside from J. Will and Dylan, they have a very balanced backcourt. You have Tyson Acuff, obviously recovering from his foot injury right now, number 8 scorer in the country last year. You have Jordan Durkak, big guard, good defender, on-ball defender. He's been working on a shot and his release this offseason. I had him on the podcast recently, but he's looked good in some footage we've seen from Summer League and practice. And then also Jamichael Davis, who looked much improved in the scrimmage highlights that came out a week ago. So they're really balanced as a backcourt. There's a lot of options there. Rutgers is going to be tough when it comes to their backcourt, and that is a huge key. And as much as the concern is with a lack of true rim defender at the 5 spot and the unpredictability of what they're going to get production-wise from Lathan Somerville and Emmanuel Ebole, Zach Martini possibly rotating at the 5 as well. Rebounding as a whole is a question. How well will this team be defensively? There's no question that I think this team's fate will be ultimately dictated by its guard play and how well Dylan Harper and Jeremiah Williams develop as a backcourt tandem. Rutgers will likely go as far as they go. Now, there's a lot going into that. Obviously, Ace Bailey is in his own right a monster talent. How Dylan Harper and Jeremiah Williams play with Bailey, and that's where I think there is an advantage there with Harper already having experience with Bailey, understanding how he plays, understanding his strengths. That's going to really allow this team to hit the ground running. I think that's an underplayed storyline there. But let's just talk about the potential first. In terms of Jeremiah Williams, that first step he has, he showed how dangerous he could be last season in limited action. His ability to get to the lane, to create space for himself in terms of getting his shot off in traffic, in terms of getting to the rim, in terms of finding teammates. Obviously, towards the end of the season, things unraveled a little bit. He didn't have much help. But during that 4-game winning streak, we saw him at his peak. And now that he's going to be surrounded by elite talent in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, he's going to flourish as the third option. And for him to be the third option, it's going to create real problems for opposing defenses. Dylan and him are kind of interchangeable. On the ball, off the ball, both of them can run the offense. Both of them can bring the ball up. They're both very similar in terms of their skill sets. And I think that that's just going to make it even harder for opposing defenses. You're really going to pick your poison. in terms of, do you double up one of them? Do you try to shut down one and hope the other doesn't go off? But I think that the way that those two will be able to flow together, Dylan Harper, the thing is, his size is going to be such a problem for Big Ten defenses. He is listed at 6'7" now. He's also gained a lot of muscle since high school. Obviously, he's recovering from the elective procedure he had, but he's already doing individual workouts. Peichel indicated by September when they return, he'll be a full go. That's before training camp begins. In terms of size, going back to that Big Ten list, Miles Rice is listed at 6'3". Bruce Thornton is listed at 6'2". Michi Johnson is listed at 6'2". Ace Baldwin, 6'1". Boswell is 6'2". Kaspers Jaconis is 6'6". Jacoby Gillespie for Maryland is 6'1". Dylan Andrews is 6'2". Sebastian Mack is 6'3". TJ Bamba is 6'5". Shellstad is just 6 foot. Fears is 6'2". Jaden Atkins is 6'4". So in terms of size, Dylan Harper is the biggest guard of all those guards. And a lot of those guards are a lot smaller than Dylan Harper. He's going to impose his will physically. He's going to create mismatches on the perimeter. Now, his ability to defend smaller, quicker guards is certainly a factor and something that's going to determine his ceiling overall as a complete player. But his size and versatility just make him an absolute matchup nightmare for opposing defenses. You can guarantee Big Ten staffs are losing sleep over Dylan Harper. And, one thing that I think is underrated about his game, I made a YouTube video about it over a year ago from some AAU footage, his innate ability to get to the rim, to create contact at the rim, and to play through contact and finish through contact at the rim. Now that he's added some size, some strength, some muscle to his frame, I really think the way he's going to be able to break down defenses off the bounce, and he's going to be a real problem at the rim. Now, in terms of J. Will and Harper, in terms of what their ceiling can ultimately be, I think there's 3 factors that are going to determine how good they'll be as a tandem. 1, 3-point shooting. Harper has shown flashes. When he was the MVP of the Brand Classic, he hit 4 threes down the stretch. When he hits threes like that, he's unstoppable. He's an extremely unselfish player. He had a very high assist rate in the EYBL for the U19 national team last year. He's going to get his assists. He's an elite playmaker. But if he can be a consistent 3-point threat as well, that's going to take his game to the next level. Same thing with Jeremiah Williams. He's never been a dangerous 3-point shooter. If both of them can shoot around 35% from 3, Rutgers is going to be that much more dangerous as an offense. And yes, PJ Hayes, Zach Martini, Tyson Acuff, Dirk Hack, those guys can all hit threes as well. But if Williams and Harper, when the lane is taken away, can just spot up and knock down threes, that's going to make them so hard to defend. So that is a huge aspect in terms of reaching their ceiling and their potential this year. Their decision-making, of course. That's the thing about Dylan Harper. I know people say he's a freshman. I don't think they understand that part of what makes him so great is obviously his experience at this stage of his career. He couldn't be more experienced. Now, he's still a freshman, right? But his pedigree with his father, with his mother, with his brother, but also just the poise that he plays with. He's never frazzled. He never gets sped up. He always plays under control. And his decision-making, his ability to read the floor, his vision, it really is elite. And I don't expect to see a huge drop-off. There might be an adjustment period, but I think it's going to be quick. And that is what's going to be so huge for him as a playmaker for this team and where he's going to rank in the conference. And then Jeremiah Williams, the same thing. We saw that he could be unselfish at times. I think he tried to put the team on his shoulders at times too down the stretch, which is kind of understandable because he didn't have a lot of help towards the end of last season. Now that you're surrounded by Harper and Bailey, a 3-point shooter like Hayes, I think you're going to see Williams' assist rate go up. And I think you're going to see his decision-making improve because of the options he has around him. And then lastly, what's really going to define things for this team is their ability to close games. And when the game is on the line, the ball is going to be in the hands of Dylan Harper and alternatively Jeremiah Williams. And their clutch factor, their ability to break defenses down, whether it's to get to the rim and finish themselves or get to the line or find Ace Bailey or someone else open to convert, their ability to control the pace down the stretch, their ability to exert pressure on the perimeter defensively, to create havoc, to help lead Rutgers in comebacks. They're going to be all over the place in terms of their imprint on being factors in ball games. If Rutgers can, win 12, 13, 14, maybe more Big Ten games, they're going to be closing out games. And it's going to be because of Dylan Harper and Jay Will, their decision-making, their ability to execute down the stretch, their ability to put their teammates in the right positions, and to close out games. And if Rutgers can close out games, it will be because they're, if not the best, top 2, top 3 best backcourts in the conference. I think on paper, going back to Raphael Davis' initial tweet, I think they're inarguably, they're top 5. I think it's not debatable. They're top 5 on paper. I think you could argue they're already top 3. I think from a talent perspective, I think they have the highest ceiling. In terms of resume, I think you have to give it to Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. But overall, I think we're in for an exciting trip. What's going to make Dylan and Jay Will effective as well is how much they can utilize and put Ace Bailey in positions to dominate and to be able to utilize his skill set the best. And that's going to come down to winning games as well. So there's just a lot of talent. There's a lot of versatility. All the guards have a little bit of different diverse skill set other than really Jay Will and Dylan, who I think complement each other really well and are going to make it really hard for opposing defenses to match up. So lastly, just enjoy it. Just enjoy the preseason buzz is only going to get buzzier now that we are starting to get close to the fall. Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey are special talents. And I think this also points to the fact that it was so crucial that Jeremiah Williams embraced this opportunity. Steve Pikiell has praised him as the vocal leader this offseason. And the three of them, the experience of Jay Will, the grittiness of Jay Will, the talent and the versatility and size of Harper and Bailey. And let's not also forget that those guys, they have killer instincts. And Jay Will is going to be able to help foster that. And I think the rest of this roster, I think the way Steve Pikiell has built it, I think he's built a really balanced roster. And it's just fun to see national guys really amped up about this team and this backcourt, specifically in what we're talking about today. So just embrace it, enjoy it. It's going to be a whirlwind, and I can't wait to see these guys on the court at the rack. And we're now less than 4 months away. Football, we're ramping up. Basketball, not too far behind. Exciting times on the banks. Rutgers football, Rutgers basketball. Dylan Harper, Jeremiah Williams, no doubt, has a chance to not just be the best backcourt in the Big Ten, but one of the best backcourts in the country. And if Rutgers is playing deep in March, it's going to be a major reason why. Thanks so much for listening and watching the Scarlet Faithful podcast once again.